Good morning, everybody, and welcome to an incredible new episode of this podcast. We have a very special guest here today, and I can't tell you how excited I am to be interviewing her. And so without any further ado, we want to welcome to this podcast show the one and only Mrs. Clarizcel Roxas. So Clarizcel, how are you today?
I'm awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, well, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, so let's get started. We got so much to cover in a little bit of time.
Okay.
I'd like to see if I can ask you, your background. The audience, I know you, but the audience may not know you, right? And
Sure.
What an inspirational story from your journey from where you started and where you are today. So tell us a little bit about you real quick.
So I am Filipino, 100%, which I often have to explain just because I look like I'm various ethnicities. And I want to make that important because my parents actually immigrated here from the Philippines. And they really taught me, because they grew up in poverty there, came over here for the American dream.
Yeah.
But to them, it was all about information, education was what they wanted. And so for me, they really wanted me to go to college and get a good job and that sort of a thing. And during my years doing that and going to school and everything, I actually pursued dancing. So I used to be a dancer. Mm-hmm. And when I say dancer, it's ballet and jazz and all of that kind of stuff that you see nowadays. And then I got into hip hop in college.
Okay.
So I was doing that as I grew up and was finding myself. And I was going to college, and I graduated with actually a psychology degree. And I had intent to actually go into physical therapy because it matched with my dancing, kind of extracurricular. So long story short, very quickly I graduated college, and I just couldn't see myself in a job. Mm-hmm. It's actually funny because as I was thinking about this very recently, that when I was younger, I would visit my mother at her work. And she used to be an accountant. She's retired now, but she was an accountant for almost 30 years. Mm-hmm. And I remember coming home from that day of visiting her at work and being with her all day and just going, I will never sit in a cubicle 8 hours a day for the rest of my life when I'm older. Like, I'm gonna do something great, Mm-hmm. But somewhere in between that, you go through high school, you go through college, and that's still all you're told to do is get a job. So I ended up at a veterinary clinic because one of my other biggest passions is actually animals. I have dogs and turtles and all these different animals at home.
How many animals do you have? At one point, how many animals or pets did you have?
My goodness. There was, I think at the peak, I had 2 bunnies, 4 tortoises, 2 turtles, and 3 dogs.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay.
And so that was probably my closest to a farm that which is one of my big dreams actually, to have an animal farm of my own. But yes, I went into the veterinary industry because it felt like a natural path to do something that I loved. And then I was good at that because I enjoyed it so much. I worked up the ladder, and I decided to use some of my skills from school. And I got into the management area of the veterinary industry. Mm-hmm. And as much as I liked being able to level up in terms of career-wise, I missed working with animals, number 1. And 2, I saw, probably the ins and outs of what people hate about the corporate world, because I was now in management and leadership. And I saw firsthand what it was like to really be corrupt from that atmosphere and just some of the politics that go into that level. So I very quickly wanted to get out of that as soon as possible. It was one of those things where I finally had a big girl job, if you want to call it that, and was making money, but had no time to do anything else. I was working over 60 hours a week on average, and I had money to survive. It wasn't even much, but it was enough to survive and to feel like I was going somewhere, but really with no future, and I was unhappy at the same time. So it was actually around that time, I was really my heart was open. I was looking for something that would get me an environment and an atmosphere and people that I would enjoy working with, that worked as hard as I did, because that was also something I hated about that is I would work as hard as I wanted to work to get things done, and other people would probably get paid sometimes more than me and work half as hard, you know? And just that sort of politics, I didn't know that there was another way because that's all I was taught.
Right.
So it was around that time, like I said, my heart was open and an opportunity landed in my lap. I was offered to come and check out, kind of a business actually. And I was like, business, I never thought about business. I mean, that was never in my background. My parents were employee minded, taught me that way, and I was too. There was something always in me since I was a little girl that said, you're not cut out for that 9-to-5 life, but I didn't know anything else. And so when this opportunity came to actually, start a business that had, a system and products lined up in order for you to run a business and create your own agency, that sort of a thing, I jumped at it, you know? I said, I don't know what I'm doing, but it sounds exciting and it sounds like something I've been looking for, so let me try it out. And so from there, I became an entrepreneur, which is something I absolutely didn't think, but I had amazing mentors, great leadership, people that taught me, the ropes of business, from being, absolutely knowing nothing to actually being fairly successful, with a bright future, which I'm really excited about. I'm very young still, and I have many years to pump this out, and I'm excited about that. And it's the first time I'm excited about life, which is something great to say.
That's great. Love hearing that.
Absolutely.
So this is a remarkable story because you went from one part of your brain, which is more of an artsy person, right? And then you go extremely to the other side, which is more of a technical numbers business person, right? So when you go from a job, right, and you're at a veterinarian, or you were?
I started as a vet tech.
A vet tech.
So I wasn't a veterinarian. That's like a doctor version. Right. Had to go back to school for that. So, but I was a vet tech, and then I went into management. Okay.
So now, when you made that transition, did you have a ton of savings, or how did you transition from a guaranteed job, where the income coming in, into something where now you're on your own and you got to find a way to pay yourself income?
Right.
So what did you do to transition that way?
I will say that about 6 months, what was great about the business that I looked into, I didn't have to quit what I was doing to start it, which was something really key for a lot of people choosing to go into that. I love that, especially nowadays. There's a ton of different businesses like that where you can kind of do it as a side hustle, feel it out. And so this was like that. I did it. And 6 months in, I remember I had a client meeting, and I basically looked at pretty much what I'd be making from that one meeting. And it was double what I made in a month, what I just made in about a 2-hour span. And it was that decision, look, I like what I'm doing for people.
Sure.
I can clearly make money doing it. And I'm so unhappy where I am. Let's just do it.
Right.
So there was a huge desire, and I had tasted enough to know this was good for people. This is a service I believe in, and this is something that I am not great at yet, but I believe I could be great at one day. And it was knowing that and having the belief in myself, as well as, I will say, the belief from the people around me that were mentoring me. So their belief in me coupled with my own self-confidence, and look, if I put my mind to it, I can do anything. I've done that before. I made the leap because I was so unhappy where I was, And really, I thought about it because before I found this opportunity for myself, I was already ready to quit without anything lined up. So I was so ready for that. I can figure out something else. Money isn't everything was my mindset before. And I said, if I'm unhappy, I'm going to find something that makes me happy. Money will come if I'm, ready for it, So I think that's what happened when the opportunity came. And then what made me make the jump was literally just really seeing all my options. And what I do a lot when I make big decisions is I look at best case scenario and worst case scenario. So I take both situations, and let's say I'm at this job that best case scenario, we make some personnel changes. I take a little bit more initiative to maybe change the culture that I'm upset about, and I demand a raise, and making more money for the work that I'm putting in. Worst case scenario, none of that happens. I'm super unhappy. I get stuck in this job. The only way I can make more money in the position I was at was to become, obviously, a few raises here and there, which we all know they give you 3% raises maybe every year. So I'd have to become the CEO or owner or go back to school and become a veterinarian to make more money in what I was doing already.
Right.
And I'm unhappy throughout the whole thing, and 30 years later, I just retire unhappy and unfulfilled and looking, for my whole life, just feel like there's a hole. That's worst case scenario and best case scenario. And jumping into this business full time, worst case scenario, you know what? I don't make any money, I fail out, I'm not good at what it is, and okay, then I find something else is really the worst case scenario. I find another job, something that does make me happy also.
Right.
Best case scenario, I'm happy, I'm fulfilled, I make a ton of money, and I have freedom one day, which also is huge. Like, money is important because you need money to live. Your lifestyle depends on how much money you make. And so for me, it was really the freedom of choice, the freedom to, take trips and be with my family when I wanted to be with my family and not have someone looming over my shoulder for the rest of my days.
Yeah.
So that was worst and best case scenario for that. And I looked at the two and I said, I'm okay with living with this worst case scenario. I'm not okay with living with this worst case scenario.
Right.
So I made that leap. I will say I did save as much as I could as well, so that there was a little bit of financial backing. It wasn't a ton of money, but it also forced me to not have a plan B as well. It also forced me to just say, you know what, I have a couple months worth of rent and things like that I could pay for to get me started. And then I just got to do it every day, find a way, and I wasn't 100% sure I could, but I knew, in your gut sometimes that there's something special there, and if I put in the right work, I know I could do it. So I used that, maybe it was a blind, naive way to think, but it worked out in my favor. And I'm also someone who believes, if you work hard enough, things will come. If you do the right things, you work hard enough, what you're asking for will actually come to fruition.
Yeah. So, being an entrepreneur, has it always been easy for you? Was this an easy journey for you? I mean, was it always like a high, like you're going up like this? Or did you have ups and downs in your journey to where you are?
1,000% ups and downs. Okay. I mean, that meme or, image that they have all over the internet where it's like, this is success, what people think, and this is really success, you know? Yeah. Absolutely, it was this. It was up and down, high and low. It was questioning myself and being super confident, making deals and money coming in 1 month, like huge deals, and then 2 months of like nothing. It was very much up and down. There was people that I hired in, and then other people who would leave, and then we were trying to grow a whole team of people, and working with people is always going to be tough. And there's definitely always going to be ups and downs because people are constant change, that's always a constant change and the differences with people. So that's always a variable, you know? So 100% there is ups and downs. I mean, if anyone tells you, if you're trying to, go into business, if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, anyone tells you like, oh, it's great, it's easy, they're lying. There's something, that is a scam, okay? If you're gonna talk about scams out there, which I know is a huge topic, about business and things like that, if someone's telling you it's gonna be perfect, easy, straight shot, no issues, make money right off the bat, that's a scam. I mean, the reality is you gotta put in work, there's ups and downs. I mean, even if you think about restaurants and like retail businesses, they don't expect to see profit for at least 2 or 3 years. You're talking about not seeing like the money come in. I mean, that's the reality of true businesses. So yeah, 100%. I went through ups and downs and highs and lows. I tried to quit a couple times, you know, and I had that looming in the back of my head, like, oh, just go back and get a job. You know, you've made it there before. You were doing okay. It wasn't so bad. Those thoughts come in, absolutely.
So how did you handle that? So when you're at your low points, I mean, everybody could be very excited, happy when things are going great, money's rolling in. But when you're at that low point and that thought behind you is like, okay, maybe I should go back to my job. How did you handle that to rebound from that and get back on your saddle?
It's a good question. So I will say that I'm a person who really believes in the energies of the universe, whether that's a higher being or what have you. That's always been something that I've felt and experienced. And a couple things come to mind when you're at your low point. One is I was taught by mentors in the field that I am in to never make a decision when you're down. So that always resonated me. So when I was at that low point, I always said, well, I'm not going to make any decisions until I go through these feelings. And I think as a woman, actually, I was able to have a perspective of understanding that women have emotions. We go up and down because we've experienced it our whole life. I mean, hormones are a thing for us, whereas not to say that men don't, but I think I had more of a self-awareness of like, okay, I'm in a slump. I feel that, you know, so let's not make any big decisions. That was one key thing that I always kept inside of my brain. And so, but I would go back and look at, you know, again, almost like what else really is there? The few times that I thought about that, I said, what's better than what I have? And I could never think of anything better. And so I would say, until I think of something better, this is what I'm going to continue to try to do. And every time I went to that point, you know, I just literally thought about every possible job, opportunity, you know, way to make money, whatever it was that would bring income or something that I would do with my life. And unless I magically won the lottery or married into millions, there was nothing out there better than what I was already doing. And that reinforced the fact that, okay, it's hard, but what am I losing out if I stop now? What do I give up? The second thing that comes to my mind is that a lot of times at this point, I had, you know, either a teammate that I had brought on or another associate that I was partnered with. And a big part of me who is very giving and caring thought about that person, you know, and thought about, okay, well, I can't give up on myself for this because I'd be giving up on them. So a lot of times it was about who is not going to be getting serviced by what I do, and the people that I'm working with have the partnership if I just walk away. And so that kept me around as well. And the last thing I'll say that comes to my mind is somehow around those times, going back to the feelings, the energies of the universe, somehow around those times, my mentor would always reach out to me around that time. I don't know if maybe my numbers showed it or whatever it was, that, or something happened where I'd get a text or a call, and it would be that one text or call that'd be like, okay, I'm in the right place, you know, and maybe I'm feeling down, but I just need to look at why and see where I can just slowly pick myself up, take one step at a time, you know? Like, let's review what's causing me to be down. Usually it's because money isn't coming in or people have quit on me. You know, those are usually the things that get me down, or clients are backing out for some reason or not. So I take a look at the issues, and then I just kind of take one step towards changing that or improving it. And I think that gives me kind of the confidence to try it again. And then usually that helps. So the little wins also continue to compound on itself, and then all of a sudden you're out of that funk, you know, because there are the highs and the lows. And what's great is experiencing a couple of the wins reminds me, like, okay, I can do it, you know, but I just got to find, you know, what I'm doing wrong in this moment and fixing that and moving forward with it.
All right, I'm going to shoot 2 more questions at you, and I want you to fire away.
Okay.
Top 3. Ready?
Okay.
3 reasons why people fail in business.
Ooh. They're too focused on where they are versus where they're going.
Okay.
Number 1. 2, they listen to people that don't know what they're talking about, essentially, people who are not in what they're doing or not successful, they failed at it. Again, why would you listen to that?
Yeah.
Number 3, why they fail. They give up.
Oh.
They give up too easily.
Too easily, yeah.
You know? They just don't keep hammering away. It's 3 feet from gold story.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
They give up.
That's good.
Too quickly.
Good. Okay, top 3 books you would recommend every entrepreneur to read.
Oh, Think and Grow Rich is number 1.
Okay.
I mean, you know, my mentors have, from the beginning, that was the first book. Absolutely. Another one that changed my life was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Definitely changed my life and how I deal with people, especially if you're in a business with people. Oh, that's key. Even if you're not in business, honestly, if you're in some sort of management leadership position, that teaches you that for sure. And number 3 was very helpful for me because I came from employee-minded, kind of lowest self-esteem type of background into trying to be this confident superwoman, you know, entrepreneur. 177 mental toughness secrets of the world class. Yes. 177, that's what I remember. But that was awesome because it really helped me understand the difference in the classes of people. And I wanted to be world class, so I needed to do this instead of this. So mental toughness was so key in going from employee to business. Absolutely.
Great. Yeah. Well, gosh, thank you so much, Clarizcel. You just gave us a ton of information. Hey, folks, I hope you enjoyed that podcast and all these wonderful golden nuggets here from Clarizcel. And if you want to know more about Clarizcel, what I want you to do is click this link right below on this video, and you'll be able to subscribe to her, maybe follow her, get in touch with her, because she is an incredible lady. And I've had the amazing opportunity to know her for how long now? Has it been 7 or 8 years or so?
I think almost 8 years, yeah.
Is it 8 years? So I've known her for 8 years, and what an impressive lady she is. And not only an impressive entrepreneur, but mother now and also wife. So Clarizcel, thank you for coming in today. And guys, make sure that you subscribe to us down below and like and make comments, and make sure you follow Clarizcel. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you on our next show.